asked Brother Zahid if there was going to be any other representatives from any political parties, and it's such a shame to say that there isn't, which is why then I volunteered to say that, you know what, I'll be there, because as the SNP, we're a party of government, and for there to not have any representation and such a protest is absolutely, it's beyond words really, but I think we all know what the reality is in that sense. So, like I mentioned, it's a privilege for me to be here today. And having privilege, obviously, is something that our Muslim brothers and sisters, they don't have. And as I stand here today, I recognise my own privileges that I have. As an able-bodied person, I can move freely. I can eat, sleep, wear, and meet who I want. I don't have to worry about the state violating my rights or forcing propaganda to brainwash me. Today, I come in my various roles that I have, but as I've been introduced as chair of the SNP BAME network, obviously because this is a political protest and that's a political party, and we're an affiliate group of a political party. I just want to highlight, because we had a really in-depth discussion when we talk about the politics and as we go forward in these protests, because it's so easy to say that there's so many people who don't stand up for genocide. Or who are not as vocal about it, and we know there's an element of white privilege there. Let's not be shy about that. I stand here as chair of the SNP BAME network because we represent a variety of ethnicities, and therefore as a political party we have an obligation to speak out against the oppression of marginalised people everywhere, because silence is complicity. At the same time, as chair of the SNP BAME network, we also recognise that the network has a duty of care towards our Scottish Chinese members who have came forth and actively said that they can't be vocal even in association with the SNP because of safety for their families and for themselves, if not now, in the near future, and this is at risk. So that goes to show the extent of how deeply ingrained the CCP is in their, censorship, and how they watch people, that they prevent people from even speaking out their truth. And that's something that we are aware. And I commend my colleagues who I work with, who are Scottish Chinese, in all my various roles that I have, for being able to provide that insight, because we know that the treatment of any human, yes, the Uyghurs are Muslims and they are being specifically targeted, but we all know that this form of treatment is just absolutely unacceptable. So I must say that comments that I'm going to make need to be done in my personal capacity as an SNP member, not necessarily as chair of the BAME network, because of the wide variety of people that I represent, and I have a duty of care to ensure that the safety of members. So I touched on a bit about privilege. How can we use our privilege today to influence and fulfil our obligations as Muslims, as part of the Ummah? We've all got, like as mentioned by Sister Tehmina, you know, the children that we see here today, they're very fortunate, and we're very fortunate to be here, that we've got a voice, and now we've got this platform to use our voice. But what are we actually going to do? It's absolutely amazing when we come out to protest like this, but then what's going to happen after? As I think it's human nature to focus on solutions, and we like to be problem solvers, and unfortunately that can't always be the case. So sometimes we've just got to recognise where we are in the world and what are really tangible things that we can do to make a change. So that's what I'm going to talk about, a little bit about influence, and what influence do we have as not only just individuals but as a collective, and what are we going to do today. So there's a couple of things that I had noted down, that again, I'm in my privileged position that I can say and share, and I hope people will join in this movement as well. So for example, again, we've got an SNP Scottish Government. How many people here can say that they have actively went and held the Scottish Government to account for their relations with the Chinese Government? Can anybody put their hand up? I'm seeing no hands. Oh, one hand, a few hands, that's it. So let's start from home here. We have a voice. We live in a Western country where our voices are valued if we get to the right places, if we involve ourselves, if we get empowered, if we join these grassroots organisations. So that's the first thing that I would like to request my brothers and sisters here today, is to get involved with the Scottish Government when they ask for consultations, when they ask for views. Sit on those either cross-party groups, on those stakeholder network groups, exactly where policy is being influenced. If we're not going to be represented as Muslims at this high level, then how on earth do we expect any change to be made? So that's one thing that I'd like to share today. Obviously, continue supporting and attending gatherings like these, because this is how we increase our knowledge. We share experiences of each other. When we share experiences, we empathise more. We can carry these experiences, these stories, into those high level positions, into those areas of where we can influence policy. Because we know there is strength in numbers, and as a collective we have a fantastically strengthened voice. Strong voice, that's the word I was going to say. Strong voice. And then also, one last thing I'd like to say is focusing on our own human rights violations within our own communities. Brothers telling us stories from the experiences of the Uyghur Muslims. To what extent can you empathise with those stories? Have you ever felt yourself in that position? Have you had a family member who is in that position? Once we put ourselves, we cannot put ourselves anywhere near the experiences of our brothers and sisters in East Pakistan. No chance whatsoever. But if we can even feel a drop of what they are feeling, that is enough motivation to make us actually get out of bed in the morning and actually do something in the day. So that by the end of the day we can say, when we go back to Allah Ta'ala, because life is short, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We don't know when we're going to meet our Creator, but so that we can say at the end of the day, this is what I did for my ummah. So one way we focus on our own human rights violations that either we're subjected to or within our own communities, within our own societies. We create empathy for our brothers and sisters, and we use that energy and we go forward and we use our voices and we empower each other. And last of all, I'm just going to quickly note that we live, unfortunately, in a capitalist world. We live in a world of colonialism, of generational trauma, and we know money rules the world, and that is very, very unfortunate where we are today. Anything that we see, that we hear, that we do, we know that there's always motivation, and money and politics go hand in hand. We all know that. White privilege and politics goes hand in hand, and we all know that as well. That's something that I call my own party leadership on as well, time to time, to remind them that, you say that you walk the walk, but can you really actually talk the talk? So I'd like to use this moment to challenge all the other political parties that are here to use their voices, and everybody else that's here today as well, to use our privileges and to use our influence to make real sustainable change for our brothers and sisters across the world. Jazakallah khairan.
Jazakallah khair, sister.